Hey everyone, Boardgame Brody here with Meeple Mountain. I have a copy of Cosmic Run Regeneration. It's a game from Dr. Finn's Games. In Cosmic Run Regeneration, the Earth is inhospitable for life, and all humans are out into space searching for a new home. Players each play as a team of exploration trying to reach each planet first to check things out. Just like the original title, this game is a quick push-your-luck game of racing to planets in space. In the game, you'll be rolling dice to assign to certain planet tracks to move your spaceship up spaces on your track. Each turn, a card is flipped over, causing a meteor to come flying through space, hitting these planets. Once 3 meteors hit the planet is then destroyed, and the players will all score points depending on how far they are on the track for that planet. The game ends when either players have made it to each planet or the planets get destroyed by getting hit by those meteors. Whoever has the most points at the end wins the game. You can see the game set up here. Players all take turns one after another, and a turn starts with flipping over one of these meteor strike cards. The top number lists which planet is hit, and you will add a meteor token to that planet. If a second one later in the game hits the same planet, then you will flip over that token, showing 2 meteors. If a third one hits, then the planet becomes destroyed, and you can see that each planet has a different track assigned to it, and when a planet is destroyed, you will score points for each player depending on where they are on this track. Point values are all listed on each step of the track. This planet will now be out of the game, and so if you flip over another card later in the game and it lists that same planet, then you will ignore that number since that planet is gone, and instead the meteor hits the planet whose number is listed second on the card. Say that this player over here makes it to this planet, which I will show you how to do here in a little bit, but if a player has made it to that planet, then when these cards are flipped over and it lists that planet number, you will also ignore it and move to the next number. Now let me just mention that some of these cards are misses, and so there's not going to be a meteor that's hitting a planet every single turn. Now later in the game, you might be ignoring more of the numbers on the top of these cards, where at the beginning of the game, you'll be using those first numbers. So what you need to know is on these cards, you will go from the top to the bottom. If a planet has been destroyed, or if any other player has visited that planet, then you will be ignoring that number and you will go to the next one. Alright, so let's reverse it back to the beginning now. Okay, so you flipped over the first meteor strike card and added the first meteor. Now the player will roll 6 dice. After the player rolls, they need to assign at least 1 die somewhere on the board, but they can assign as many as they would like. After assigning as many dice as they would like, they can then re-roll the remaining in hopes that they get something better. Again, they have to assign at least 1 die, and then they can re-roll the rest of them, and they will be able to keep on doing this until all dice are assigned. So on a player's turn, they can roll the dice from 1 to 6 times. Now, when you assign these dice, you'll be able to assign them to a certain planet, to one of the alien cards, or to your tech card. Once a die is assigned to one of these areas, it won't be able to be moved for the remaining of your turn. Now, when you're assigning these dice to the planets, each planet has a different requirement. Planet 1. To move a step on this track, you will need to assign a die with exactly 1 pip on it. Planet 2. Your ship will move 1 space for every pair of matching dice. For Planet 3, you will need to have a 3 of a kind. For Planet 4, you'll need to have a 4 of a kind. And for Planet 5, you will need a 5 of a kind. Now you won't have to assign these dice all at the same time or after 1 roll, but by the end of your turn, after you're assigning all the dice, hopefully you accomplished or finished your 3, 4, or 5 of a kind. If at the end of the dice assignment phase you don't have the matching requirement on that planet, then they are just wasted and nothing happens with them. Planets 1 through 5 will each list the points for each step that you get closer to that planet, and then the points that you get for getting to each of those planets. Planet 6 is a little bit different. It's kind of like a special planet. You can move your ship one space for each different white die assigned. So having a 1, a 3, and a 4 will move you 3 spaces. There is a yellow die, however, which functions the same as the white die except when placed on this planet. If assigned to Planet 6, it will move your ship the number of pips shown on the die. This planet is scored differently. Whoever is the furthest on the track will gain 10 points, second gains 5, third gains 0, and last gains -5. Now those are the planets 1 through 6, and sometimes it's hard to get those 3, 4, 5 of a kind, so you also have some help with these alien cards out here. They give you bonuses. If you add the required dice shown on that card, then you will gain the bonus that card gives you. This card can be used at any time during your turn, and when used you'll flip it over face down to show that it has been used. Let me show you some examples of some of these alien cards. On these cards, the top shows what you need to roll with your dice to gain the alien cards, and the bottom shows your bonus. This alien card lets you change one of your dice 1 pip either higher or lower. This card lets you change one of your dice if you roll a 2 to any number that you would like. This card kind of gives you an imaginary die that is of that value. This alien card lets you re-roll some of your dice. This card lets you draw a number of tokens to keep, which have victory points shown on the other side. And this card lets you use the red die just like it's one of those white dice. You can recruit up to 3 aliens per turn, and you can possess up to 5 of them at a time. And players can retire alien cards to gain points after they're done using them, or whenever they want to make space for others. When retiring the alien cards, they can be either used or unused, but when sending 2 of the same color, you can place your honor token over the corresponding spot here on the honor board and score the highest value available. You'll do the same thing with some of these other ones. Here, this one is a 3 of the same color, this one is 3 different colors, and this one is 5 of different colors. It's sometimes easy to flip the alien cards to the backside to see if they are the same colors or not. So again, you can assign your dice to the planets, to these alien cards, and lastly, you can assign the dice to your tech card. This will be a great option also if you don't have a good place to assign a die, because when placing a die here, regardless of the number shown on it, you will gain a crystal. At any time during your dice rolling phase, you can spend crystals to gain special powers. 1 crystal lets you re-roll 2 dice, 2 crystals lets you re-roll up to 5 dice, 3 crystals lets you adjust 1 die up or down 1 pip, 4 crystals lets you turn a die to any face, and 5 crystals lets you add this red die for your turn, acting as if it's one of those white dice. After assigning dice, the players will then move their ship on any of the planets that they fulfilled the requirement with by their assigned dice. They will take any alien cards that they paid for with the appropriate dice placement. And lastly, they will gain any crystals from the dice on their tech card. Again, whenever a ship makes it to a planet, players will score points depending on where their ship is on that track. And of course, the ship that made it to the planet will score the most points. Ships can be stacked on top of each other on the tracks without any worry of placement, except for on Planet 6. On the Planet 6 track, whenever a player moves a space occupied by another player, then they will place their ship on top, as this will help determine who got there first and what points at the end of the game each of them will score. There are also these tokens placed on the spaces leading to the planets. Now, whenever a ship lands on that space, then they will collect that token worth the depicted amount of points on the back side. On Planet 6 track, however, you'll need to land on that space to gain the token, so if you move past it without landing on it, you won't be able to collect it. After you're done with your turn that again started with flipping over a meteor card, then rolling and assigning dice, and lastly resolving all those dice that you place, then you will give the dice to the next player for their turn. Players will all take turns like this until all planets have either been explored or destroyed. Once that happens, each player will have a chance to retire 1 more set of aliens and then perform their final scoring. Players will count up their hidden tokens. They will score 1 point for each extra alien card that they have, and 1 point for each crystal they still have. The player with the most points will win the game. The game can be played competitive like I explained, but there's also a solo mode and a cooperative mode. In the solo and co-op mode, you're going to be racing the game to discover each of the 6 planets before they are destroyed. Now again, going back to rolling the dice, it's kind of a Yahtzee variant type of game, and sometimes it's hard to get those 4 of a kind or those 5 of a kind, but it's possible because you can get those alien cards, which give you extra actions to change the dice, or even use your crystals to do the same. With the mixture of all these ways to manipulate your dice, then it becomes easier to change them to what you want. You'll most likely want to focus on planets that are almost destroyed by the 3rd meteor. So you will want to progress the most you can so that you can score the most points before it gets triggered to score by either the planet getting destroyed or by another player beating you there. The alien cards are a very nice addition to the game because you can use their abilities and then turn them in, retiring them to score even more points. So you have a lot of control in how you want to go about using your dice on your turn. But that first roll on your turn, it might just guide you a bit to know what possible things you want to go for. The game is a great smaller game full of strategic decisions with also those random elements that give you surprise and the feeling of added urgency to be the first one to get to those planets, and so the mechanisms in the game blend very nicely to form and be perfect for the theme. Now I'll have to mention that the board is small and it doesn't sit flat all the time on the table because you have to fold it up, so it causes the ships to get bumped sometimes, and players don't remember where their ship was actually at because, you have so many of them, and the ships are also being stacked on each other, and so sometimes causing a bump of the table or from the board will cause them to fall, and then again you don't know where the ships were actually at. I would say a bigger board or indentions into the board would help with this problem, but besides that, the components are great. The game shines largely because of the mechanics and the gameplay, and the game is nicely designed and streamlined, so it's pretty straightforward. The only thing that you might need to be looking up in the rulebook would be to see the alien cards and how they work specifically. This is a great implementation of a Yahtzee variant type of game that makes the game more strategic, more thematic, and just an overall better game. Now the game really shines because it's a fast game that can be very strategic, yet the randomized elements causes the game to be different each and every time that you play, giving you a new puzzle to think in your head every single time you play. So grab your dice and maneuver your rocket ships to discover a new planet in Cosmic Run Regeneration by Dr. Finn Games. Again, this is Boardgame Brody. I hope you enjoyed this video. Stick around and check out some other board game reviews to see what you might want to get to the table.